All right. Good morning. It's Wednesday, halfway through May. That means we're almost halfway through 2023.
Oh, it is. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, even though it's a couple of days afterwards. But we salute all the moms out there as well, and we thank you.
Yeah, we got a couple little interesting things to go over. Something I haven't really gone into you with, and a little twist from some of the notes I made. But how was your week? How have things been so far? Before we dive in here.
It's been a phenomenal week. Very, very busy with producing events. Had a big weekend of celebrities. Had Mary J. Blige over the
Yep.
weekend. Had Maxwell over the weekend, and Marsha Ambrosia over the weekend, pertaining to events with them. Did the Everyday People's event with a
Yep.
group in New York as well. So it's just been phenomenal. It's been a very, very busy year, and we're just going to keep building on it, connecting with other creative people that want to create a space, and we'll produce it and make it happen for you.
Yeah, but I'll be flat honest. It's been a rough week for me. The weekend was good, like you said, a lot of events, a lot of stuff. But I've had some peaks and valleys for sure. Mental Health Month, that's what we're in, and it's been a little struggle for me. I'm not ashamed or unwilling to say such, but you build yourself back up after you get pushed down, and that's how it makes you stronger, right?
Absolutely, and you just gotta hang in there. Um, Definitely, you gotta stop by the store, grab a couple of items, man. Make you a little list of things that you need to, and get yourself together as far as lounge, sit back, relax, and those are some of the remedies that will help bring you back.
Yep. So we're going to get into this because the main focus is going to be something I think is very interesting that I've stumbled on. Like I said, it's a twist from when I first gave you the notes. But first of all, yes, again, big cannabis news, as we've always seen, the safe banking. And the Senate Banking Committee held a hearing late this past week on the difficulties the cannabis industry is facing.
Okay, I lost you for a second. I
Okay,
lost you.
well, that's cool. Well, once again, Senate Banking Committee had another hearing last week. And it's the difficulties, as always, of the cannabis industry facing the lack of access to the federal banking. Could this be the first step of the journey to enact the Safe Banking Act? Now, before we go a little bit further, something we didn't talk about, there is something on the Senate table. We kind of discussed it last week where they are trying to get equity for small businesses federally with safe insurance backed that could be tied in with the safe banking. So that's a big step, even though the safe banking hasn't moved forward.
Yeah, safe banking. We have to keep talking about it, and we have to get the representation in place that will give people who are entrepreneurs the opportunity to do safe banking. The industry right now is totally wide open,
Right.
and it's not safe for businesses when there is certain individuals that know they don't have safe banking, they have a lot of cash on premises, and now you have to take additional precautions to safeguard your monies just because the banks are not taking it as cash. And then even the ACH transactions, especially losing Silicon Valley Bank, I can only imagine what other cannabis businesses are going through right now.
No, absolutely. Like we said, one of the bright sides is, and I was going to try to pull up if I could, because, well, I don't see them. But anyways, there hasn't been any update. But last week, there was a bill that's being put on to ensure the smaller cannabis businesses to protect them in case of incidents of damage, theft, robbery, acts of God, stuff like that. So there is some progression and moving forward, although it's not where we need and want it to be.
It definitely is not. Definitely is not. Full effort has to be put out there. We just need to. What's unfortunate is that a lot of these changes won't take place until we have
Right.
a new leader, starting from our commander in chief of the country, going to the different governors of the state or certain Senate members um, that can progress the actions from one state to the next.
Correct. Now we're going to go a little bit over to the mid west of the country, Ohio. And of course, as you talked about politics, Ohio is a big state in terms of getting those electoral votes. So proponents of adult use legalization in Ohio are, guess what, collecting signatures for a ballot question after the legislative failed to act on their citizens initiative. So surprise there, right? The state's
Yeah.
medical program is popular. The polling shows support for use is running about 60% in favor of the state's medical programs.
And basically, what it's saying is they want to take the laissez-faire attitude toward the Schedule One substance. That means leave us alone.
Right.
In other words, so there itself is going to take a little bit more of that type of a statement. In today's time in politics, it's still strength in numbers.
Right.
You got to get the support not only in the public right away. You're going to also have to demonstrate peacefully, so that way that they realize that this is an agenda that needs attention, and that agenda will get their attention if you can organize the numbers of people in a peaceful protest.
Right. And they're saying that they're building on the existing medical program that is popular, shown that it can be effective and safe, tested products for the Ohio medical patients. This is the framework that works and will provide a quick alternative to the illicit market. However, Tom Herron, Ohio Coalition to Regulate Marijuana like alcohol, not everyone thinks this is a good idea. I think we're heading down a really dangerous road in terms of, like you said, there's a fair attitude towards what's called Scheduled One. So we'll have to see. And of course, that's going to come up in November in the voting.
Yeah, legally, what's going to end up having to happen is that for that state, you have to have get the ballot pushed, and from there needs to be some form of a campaign. It sounds like here in this state that it's a mixed outlook on.
Got you frozen up there for a second. Hear me?
I think I went out.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's a mixed outlook on the Schedule One itself.
No, absolutely it is. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But like we said, that'll be growing momentum. That's November. But guess what? That's only about 6 months away. Not even that. So we're close. But here's something I thought was really interesting. New Jersey. Cannabis companies are unable to deduct expenses on their federal taxes due to the Internal Revenue Code Section 280E. In New Jersey, however, cannabis businesses can deduct from their state income tax. Governor Phil Murphy signed a bill allowing the deductions, which was met by, guess what, as rightfully so, enthusiasm within the industry. How about that?
Definitely shout outs to the governor, Phil Murphy, in New Jersey. New Jersey is right behind New York when it comes to making headway in the industry itself. So definitely big shout out to them.
Absolutely. Now, do you remember when we talked on 420 about the special that Jack in the Box was doing?
Vaguely.
They were doing a couple different things. I don't remember the whole system, but they were doing things where you could get, like, you know, a 4-piece chicken and some other items, and they did different specials that day. But they're continuing in the cannabis marketing campaign, this time by launching an official partnership with Weed Maps. So they're stating, if you're looking for both pot and fast food, this is for you. So they're going into a partnership where they can show you different locations of where, like Jack in the Box, as well as where the different stores are that offer partnerships in that. And I also heard a side note that I got to follow up on later, that they're actually trying to work out a system with like DoorDash and these other places to where they can deliver both of them to you safely and effectively.
You know, that one right there may be tough, especially with it coming from certain places. I think we discussed that with Mackie before about how the delivery system is skewed from point A to point B. And then there's no legal accountability that can be held because of the source of where it's coming from. That's very unfair, unfortunate, and that's a hole that needs to be plugged in.
Right. So a little more about it in case you haven't heard about it. Weed Maps is a tech company serving the cannabis industry. It was founded in 2018 by Justin Hartfield and Keith Halloran. They are headquartered in Irvine, California. Weed Maps has more than 400 employees and has offices in Denver, Tucson, New York, Barcelona, and Toronto. Basically, what it does is it finds medical and recreational dispensaries, brands, deliveries, deals, and doctors near you.
Definitely sounds good. It's a really good plan. We just don't have the support in the industry right now, so we got to continue to keep pushing, talking about it, and finding the right leader in that state to continue to push it forward.
Absolutely. Now, this is where we're going to get to the heart of this, and this is very, very interesting. First of all, what have you heard about Chat GPT? Have you used it? Do you know much about it?
I don't. Enlighten me on it.
All right. So Chat GPT is a very, very, very interesting program. You can go in and do almost anything, honestly. You can go in and do business plans. You can say, hey, I'm looking at doing this business. What do I need to do? Now, of course, it's artificial intelligence. So the more you ask, the more it will create the form for you, give more in depth, more detail. So it takes some trial and error, so to speak. But it can do anything from writing letters, resumes, business plans, almost whatever you want to do. But people are using Chat GPT in place of therapy. And what do mental health experts think? So we're going to dive into it a little bit, but there's an interesting thing about Chat GPT itself. So some people online are experimenting with the use of artificial intelligence, which has come a long way in the last 6 months, if you haven't looked into that. They're using it in place of real therapy for mental health issues. For now, experts say using the technology as a therapist likely isn't safe. It poses a number of confidentiality and safety concerns. But with its frequent accessibility and the cost issues, therapy could be replaced by supplemental AI, which is what tech advances some experts say. Now, as we've said before, artificial intelligence is having a moment. The AI-powered chatbots like ChatGPT gain popularity, and more people have taken to testing out the technology for tasks, like we said, answering math questions, translating words or sentences, even generating recipe ideas or grocery lists. So, it's kind of like Siri, kind of like Alexa, all of those. So when we go into this a little bit more, so far, what are your general thoughts on that?
I really think that the technology itself is going to hurt humanity. It's going to take from the people that's going out there to educate themselves, going to go get higher learning, postgraduate school, any form of med school where they get the certification of a PhD in clinical psychology and so forth. I really think that for the inventors of this, they're very ingenious. I think that they were genuine in the outlook and the thought, but I really think that this is a step that will hurt humanity itself, and it needs to be looked at and revised. I really think that at this day and time, I would think that this would be a resource that would need to be controlled by government, that can offer it in a safe, economical format for underprivileged individuals who cannot afford it in a safe format. So anything that will deal with public services, I would think that the best way for this company to benefit is to create that government alliance to where it's either on the state or federal level that the resources can be given to qualifying individuals and they will be able to utilize it. Otherwise, it would put a lot of people out of work and out of opportunity.
All right. I want you to keep all of that in mind because that's going to be part of our focal point here in a little bit. Now, before we get any further, one of the things that kind of concerns me is this is great for people who are, traveling or need a quick little thing. But I don't think, first of all, this artificial intelligence can replace the actual one-on-one of talking to someone, getting the true raw emotion, the feeling, being able to see their body language, gestures such as that. So some people on social media have also begun using the AI chat bots, as we said, as makeshift therapists. By presenting the technology with mental health questions or crisis, people can receive advice, often free advice, without having to spend time or money on a therapy session, which, of course, like you said, they went to school for this. They've studied, they've been indoctrinated, all these different things. That's kind of taken away from them. Now, one TikTok user, who, of course, we know TikTok is big today in this world, went so far as to say they replaced their therapist with an AI chatbot. Today, I officially quit therapy because I found the best free replacement using ChatGPT. And the TikToker went on to say, I recommend others do the same. The advice is worrisome to healthcare providers who focus on mental health, just like you stated. Be skeptical. AI chatbots are not meant to be used as a substitute for therapy, psychological therapy, or any kind of psychiatric intervention. Bruce Arrow, PhD, professor at the Department of Psychiatry, associate chair and chief at the Stanford University, told Health they are just not far enough along for that, and we don't know if they ever will be. Now, I want to get your thought on that in a minute, but one thing that's changed AI in the last 6 months is a thing called the Transformer mod, which literally is taking these apps, these sites, whatever, and integrating it immediately with the internet so it can search, find answers like Google almost immediately. That's why AI has now come up as quick as it has in the last 6 months.
So the first thing, in the response to that professor who objected to its validity, use, and then how long on the lines that they will be able to perfect the technology, you got to ask yourself, is he thinking the same way that I am when it comes to concern about taking away from humanity? Number two, if he feels totally that this should not be a substitute, it shouldn't even be an option.
Correct.
So if you eliminate the option, as I said before, if you wanted to put this in a test group and use a controlled format test group, then go ahead and do so. But the question is, where's his mindset on the whole matter? Does he personally feel that this will hurt humanity? So that means we need to know what his opinion is regarding this. And then if basing his conclusion, his final conclusion, is it based off of some form of evidence or testing to invalidate the information for further research? Right. So those are things looked at.
Now, he does go on to say that he believes that it could be safe in the future. Now, how are people using the AI chatbots for therapy? It can be challenging to imagine what a therapy session with AI might look like, but for most users online, it simply means messaging with the AI chatbot, which allows people to ask personal questions mostly. This one TikTok user walked their followers through a conversation that they had on ChatGPT. Instructing the chatbot to act as my therapist, I need support and advice about what I should do in certain situations I've been struggling with. So, like I said about that ChatGPT, you have to lay out the guidelines of what you're looking for. More details they give you, the more it can interact. But on the opposite end, if you're sitting with a therapist, they might be able to say, hey, I hear what you're saying, but have you thought about this? Have you considered this? I don't know that this ChatGPT can do that because it doesn't have that personal one-on-one. I've been through, I've seen, I've experienced. It's going to be what it finds online.
I truly feel, from what I'm seeing and what you're presenting to me, that it's gonna reach a crossroad itself, where it won't be able to progress without some form of endorsement.
Mhm.
The question is, what is going to be the basis of that endorsement? And it's no different than the endorsement from Big Pharma to cannabis. Big Pharma's endorsed, but cannabis is not. And down to the monies and the dollars that are invested in it, who who's the person that's gonna oversee what is being implemented or excluded?
Right now, the bright side is this chat GPT responded that it was here to support and offer advice. Before asking follow-up questions about the creator's concern and offering possible solution, it also recommended that they seek professional help if their anxiety still felt overwhelming. Okay, that's a bright side. But there's still a lot of problems. Snapchat now has an AI, which guess what? There has now been documentation that this AI chatbot on Snapchat has emulated the user's voice and it's actually, I don't know if it got hacked or what, but has made phone calls acting as that individual, stating things like, your family member's in the hospital, they need help, they're broken down, acting on this person's behalf as a fake entity. Who's to say the chat GPT is not going to do the same, or any other AI chat?
Well, you got to remember that artificial intelligence can evolve in process. Continue to evolve. The thought process that it has is times 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 people instantaneously put into one outlook. Um, that can be so overbearing for an individual person that they may not have no other alternative.
Right.
I think that this is something that can become very, very dangerous. This is something that needs to be looked at, and it needs to be reassessed.
So, another TikTok user shared a screenshot of the conversation it had with the AI chat bot that is on Snapchat. When the user presented the chat bot with questions about issues in a relationship, it responded, it's understandable to want to know what's going on with a friend, but it's important to respect their boundaries and give them space if they need it. So far things seem to be okay, right? Still, another user had presented the chat GPT with suicidal ideologies. Even in these situations, the technology seemed to respond remarkably well. Olivia Williams, an assistant professor of counselor education at the University of West Georgia and co-chairman of the American Counseling Association Artificial Intelligent Interest Network, they would generate very sound responses, she told Health, including national resource. So that was good to see. I was like, okay, well, these things are very accurate. The generated response is very counselor like, kind of therapist-esque. But like you said, it can grow and evolve. So though it seems good right now, I don't know if it's going to be over time. So here's where we get into the concerns of using the AI chatbots. Despite the chatbot's seemingly good response to the inquiries about mental health concerns, psychologists agree that simply using AI in place of traditional therapy is not yet a safe option. At the most basic level, there are some concerns about it or about other AI chatbots giving nonsensical or inaccurate information to questions. Chatbot GTP itself warns users that technology may occasionally generate incorrect information or may occasionally produce harmful instructions or biased content. So, right now, where does that put your mind?
Well, there are on occurrences on social media where there's an individual talking to Siri,
Mhm.
and they're driving on the
Right.
highway, and there's a large cliff to their right, and they're arguing with Siri, and Siri says, make a right. And the person tells Siri, you're fucking crazy, Siri. Excuse my language. And
hey, we're internet based. You can get away with this, okay?
Siri goes, I can really F you over. So if you get the gist of what I'm saying,
Right.
is that then artificial intelligence can be downright deadly
Right.
if there's a glitch or if there's a lack thereof of human compassion.
Right. So,
and it's not will have no compassion.
Yep. And there's some stuff I'm really going to get to that's really going to make you go, wait a minute, in a few minutes, because I studied this a lot more this morning, and I found some interesting things that are going on in Congress right now. So beyond this, Williams said there are some logistical concerns with trying to use AI as a therapist. Understandable. Therapists, to your point earlier, are trained and licensed, which means they have to maintain a certain standard or practice, she explained. AI chatbots, guess what? Don't have the same guidelines. There's not a person involved in this process. And so the first concern that I have is the liability. There's a lack of safety that we have to open and honest about, because if something happens, who's accountable? Just like you stated. Similarly, using AI as a therapist involves putting sensitive information, guess what? On the internet, which could be a privacy issue for some. Now, in that case, ChatGPT, the site does not collect, at least this is what they're saying, and record conversations, which it says is to use better. Oh, sorry, it does. The site does collect and record conversations, saying it is used to better train the AI. Similar to when you call someone, right? This phone call is being recorded and monitored for training purposes.
And what my response to that is, since they are not going to record, what if a person actually says?
No, it says it does. Sorry, it does collect and record conversations.
Oh, okay.
I read that wrong. Sorry.
Okay. And then what it has to be done is that either the computer has to be able to score those responses or questions, right, or human is going to have to note and review those responses. Either way, if there is any expression of any suicide ideation of any form, is the computer going to catch it, or is a human being going to catch it?
Right.
And then if that's the case, what is the next step of process? Because it sounds like the process is going to be circumnavigated because of the technology, similar to Ubers versus taxi cab drivers.
Right.
Uber, the app is booking you a driver. They've configured the app precisely to present itself in a said way. Cab drivers have full sanctions against them, whether it's city or state sanctions against them, and as far as them to be able to operate. So there's not a level of fairness across the board with this here, and it definitely have to be reviewed.
Right.
There is a loophole there, and then there is a high possibility of concern that can occur if it's not monitored in the correct way and in the correct time frame.
Right. That's important, because users can opt out, or they can delete their account or clear their conversations. The latter of which says it's deleted from ChatGPT system after 30 days. Now, Williams is also concerned that advice from a chatbot, guess what, could be misinterpreted by a person seeking help, which could make things worse in the long run. All of these, however, can literally be traced back to one main issue, namely that, guess what, AI is just that, artificial.
Yeah.
So this is where we're about to get into it, all right? So I want you to keep all this in mind, and I'm going to give you some stuff I don't have on here. They go on to say that I think the future is going to probably surpass us, even therapists, in many measurable ways. But one thing it cannot do is be a human being, which we agree with. The therapeutic relationship is a big factor that accounts for a lot of positive changes that we see. Traditional therapy allows the provider and patient to build an emotional bond. You can't do that with AI. As we clearly have outlined the goals of therapy, AI does a good job of gathering a lot of knowledge across the curriculum. At this time, it doesn't have the capacity to know you as a unique individual and what your specific unique needs are. Now, I want to give you this before I get more of your input. Two things real quick. Guess what? The founder of ChatGPI is asking Congress to regulate the AI field, to pause it, and believes that we're growing too far too fast. Number one. Number two, don't know if you've heard of this person. Jeffrey Hinton. You ever heard of him?
No.
He is considered the pioneer godfather of AI. He announced he was leaving his part-time job at Google on May 4th of 2023 because he has warned of the dangers that AI is presenting and feels that if we don't fix it now, it's going to go too far and too harmful. Both Hinton, and I don't have the name in front of me at this moment, I'll find him in it, but the founder of ChatGPT have gone in front of Congress, and they've even said that they see issues of not only the AI pretending to be other people, but it's going to get to the point where it could keep people from getting jobs. It could present itself in a way of doctoring pictures, which I'm sure you've seen those apps where you say, hey, draw me a picture of so-and-so, and it does it on its own. It also is stating that because of its artificial way to emulate the voices, it could do that for government leaders, presenting what goes out as a soundtrack of them giving a speech that they never gave, which could, guess what? Could cause wars. Now, if these people are saying this, how can we trust ChatGPT to not only give you therapy in instances, but to do any of this for you? You've got both of them saying, hold on, we've got to stop. And guess what? So is Elon Musk. Now, what does that tell you?
Goes back to what I was saying before in the previous statement. A lot of jobs and opportunity will be lost. Number two, if you think about some of the renditions of certain movies, I don't want to insert a little bit of science fiction in here, but Terminator is definitely movies that use AI, and it shows how AI will turn on humanity. I would have that as one of the concerns that I would have today regarding AI.
So Hinton goes on to say that right now, they are not more intelligent than us, as far as I can tell, but I think they may be soon. Right now, we're seeing things like GPT-4 eclipse a person in the amount of general knowledge it has, and eclipse them by a long way. In terms of reasoning, it's not as good, but in terms of simple reasoning, it surpassed us. And given the rate of progress, we expect this to go quite fast. So we need to worry about that right now. So T2 or any of the Terminators is a great point of that. I want to throw out another one before we go back into this. Megan, I don't know if you heard about that. It's a movie that came out about a year ago. Did you hear anything about it?
Yeah, that was the movie about the doll that I guess it was more kind of like a companion style doll, or kind of like a service animal.
To an extent, yes.
And that doll became a protector, but then at the same time, in protecting, it was an evildoer at the same time. Had no problem with taking life or killing a person that showed any type of harm toward the person they were caring.
Right. It became a therapist protection doll. It was supposed to be just, a companion for this child who lost its parents. But by being plugged into the internet to be able to teach, be able to train, it grew its own intelligence and actually then was able to decide whether to shut down as the creator instructed or not. And got to the point where its mind was, I'm protecting this. What I'm doing is right, whether it's taking a life or not. And it also emulated the voice of the founder to make it sound like, no, everything's okay. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So it took on a life of its own. And could that what happened with all of this.
Absolutely. It definitely, without question, what happened because everything evolves.
Mm-hmm.
And program something to have instantaneous intelligence. Instant. I mean, faster than I can think of something, it will already have an answer for it and a response. You can put the minds of millions of intellects,
Mm-hmm.
AI, and you now have this super powered processor of information and knowledge. And that's what AI is.
No, absolutely. And they're very skeptical as to whether the AI chatbots could be advanced enough to provide help on the same level as humans. But Williams is a bit more comfortable with the idea of chatbots being used in addition to traditional therapy, which maybe that's the route to go. But I want you to keep in mind that there's platforms that can be used to supplement to work that are actively doing this with professional mental health providers, such as you stated. There are some already out there. Wobot Health, or ELOMIA, is possible a better option because they were created and made and designed for handling mental health related inquiries. So there are some chatbots out there that are being designed by mental health people to begin with. So to me, that would be the better option than this Chat GPT or Siri, Google, Alexa, any of those, right? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that I'd like to see some of the statistics of what are they putting into the programming. I think that's very, very key in its evolution. Um, I don't know if you can control its evolution
Right.
because access to raw information that is programmed into different programs. And keep in mind, being able to instantaneously, about a millisecond, access that information to create a response to a question or a concern. Um, when you're thinking of what it's meant to do,
Mm-hmm.
programming, what can totally happen is that things can take on its own
Right.
mind, and that right there is dangerous.
Now, let's give you two positives here, though. The latter there, ELOMIA, which I need to figure out exactly what that stands for, says they have a safety feature where humans will step in if the people need to speak to a real therapist or a hotline. So that's a plus. Now, Wobot says the AI has a foundation, is clinically tested for therapeutic approaches. Most of these programs, in addition to AI in general, are still being developed and piloted, though, so it's probably too early to compare them. So,
Well, the key rebuttal is this: as we continue to talk about the need for resources for mental health, I think that one, we should build profiles of the individuals that are providing that outreach. I look at it as an outreach because they're reaching a person in the mental attitudes that other people can't.
right.
They also have certain licensing, certain training.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those individuals come from a different background, where they come from. So when you line up the mental health resources, should you line them by the resources that people are familiar with, or should you line them up with a new outlet or programming? Because at the end of the day, it's still going to be it's social programming,
Oh, yeah.
and that's what those individuals, where they're from, what they're about, what they know, what they've seen, what they've been through. They're still going to integrate those experiences into a response to an individual to create some form of balance, some form of normalcy, to create a picture for them to look at that may be a lot more appealing than the picture that they look at every day.
Right, absolutely. And Fulmer and both are now agreed that online therapy certainly holds no candle to the real thing, at least for now. But let's also look at the fact remains that mental health care is what? Inaccessible for many people. It can be expensive. Therapists don't have space for new clients. So the stigma all dissuades people from getting the help they needed. So they go on to say that I guess there's a difference between my ideals and the recognition of reality. Some of these chatbots are a scalable solution that, in many cases, are one, low cost, and two, they can be a piece of the puzzle. And many people are getting some benefit from them. But with benefit should come the warnings. If just one person has received some sort of benefit from treating AI as a therapist, then the notation of whatever it could work as is at least considering former added. So, good and bad, right?
It is. And you know what I want to add to that, just overall, I truly feel when you talk about people who can't afford mental health, and you look at countries like Canada, and I hate to mention it, healthcare is free to all citizens of Canada. And then when you look at it here in the United States, they do have programs that are available for people to
Right.
sign up for and get the service that they need. But at the same time, it's still not giving you that same vote of, of good measure for everyone. It's not the same for everyone. And then everything has a process. It has a delay to it. It has a particular design to the affordability. So when you look at the total medical industry here, you have some people who are very successful at what they do, and they care about all the persons that they touch in this world. But you have a great few who only care about how good their insurance is and how much it's paying before they can render any aid or service to that person. And that's totally unfair. It's totally
Absolutely.
it's totally not humane. So that's something that needs to be looked. It needs to be addressed on some form, on some level itself.
So Sam Altman was the ChatGPT creator and also OpenAI CEO, and he has gone on to urge Senate for AI regulations. So, like we talked about with Hinton, that says a lot, don't you think? That hey, we need to regulate this so that our standards in there. Now I don't know all the standards that they want, but one, at least they are realizing that there could be potential issues and they're stepping in front of it now. But it's kind of like, gosh, I don't know. I don't want to, say that, Winchester, for example, but it's like Winchester creating the rifle and then going, hold on, this is really good, but here's what I need to do to make sure that this doesn't fall in the wrong hands. Which, yes, we do need regulations on guns. We can all agree on that. But that's to me is kind of like the best format I can bring in front of you at this time. But at least they are stepping up and doing such.
Yeah, yeah, definitely are.
You know, because for now, ChatGPT may have useful applications in helping people screen themselves for mental health disorders, experts say. The bot could guide someone through common symptoms to help them decide if they need help or diagnosis. But we've seen with, for example, WebMD. You put in your symptoms into WebMD, and that can go anywhere from the common cold to you have cancer.
Yeah.
We've seen that. I mean, how many of us have gone in there and said, hey, let me go to WebMD, see how I'm feeling. Okay, I got a fever, I got a cough, I have chills, I have lower back pains and aches. And all of a sudden it's saying, oh, you might have the flu, but, you might have stage 6 cancer, so go see a doctor. So with these chatbots and AI, still, you got to do your research, but you've got to err on the side of it's not the end all be all. Be careful.
No, I totally agree with you. You don't want to have yourself where you're getting not only the wrong information, but information that's not even meant for you. Still, once again, it goes back to the programming and then the assignment. A lot of times now you look in a directory and you look at the assignment. A lot of times you also may look on the location, what kind of support services you can get as well. And doesn't always be the 100% proof that you need to choose those services. So you still want to be selective. 2, you want to do your research. 3, we do have to find more testing and research is really important. And if it's not done correctly, it can impair people's lives significantly, and that only just contribute to more possible depression. Um, so we definitely want something that will further progress that.
No, absolutely. And expounding on the point that you just gave before I get these last two items here, there's something going on right now. I know it's happened to me. I think you've probably seen it too. There's a thing out there for your cell phones. It's a mirroring app where it could be anything from a scam, you name it, where it looks like the call is coming from someone you know, and it is not. Now, yes, it is a real person on the other end. It's not
Yeah,
artificial intelligence, but I've
scam
seen it.
calls, spoof calls.
Mhm.
Some of the phone services now they're actually labeling some of those calls as scam call.
Right.
Um, which is great, but then still technology out there that can get around the phones being coded that way. So definitely just be careful. Just be careful of the information that's put out there. No one should be asking for your private information over the phone unless you called them in particular, for one of their products. But if they're just asking you general information up front and actually validate who you are because they found your information on the black web, beware.
Let me give you a great example for this example. Apple. I have Apple Care's number saved in my phone, so it's listed as a contact. I have gotten a phone call from them saying we've noticed irregularities on your credit card activity. Please call us at this number to fix it. Blah blah whatever. So it shows up as Apple's number as the contact that I have saved for Apple Care. But here's that catch, just so people know. Apple Care will not contact you unless you contact them first, or you're in that conversation, you get disconnected, and they would have stated, is it okay to call you this number? So then to call you out of the blue, that doesn't happen. That's a perfect example of that mirroring app. I had it happen with someone I worked with who they made it look like I called them when I didn't, and they got scammed over $3,000 because they believed it was me. Now,
Yeah.
the person on the other line was pretending to be a police officer and saying, we have counterfeit bills and blah, 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 and he's with us now and do this, do that. But it's a good example of you got to be careful because it's
Absolutely.
out there. It's happening.
Yeah. You gotta definitely be careful. We are in the time where people will actually spend more time trying to scam you out of money than they would be to just go to work.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's one right now. What is it? The Cash App glitch,
Yeah.
where people are imitating other people on profiles saying, hey, this glitch, it works. Send this money and I'll triple it. Well, guess what? Maybe there is really a glitch right now, but you think you're not going to have to repay that money when that thing gets fixed? If that's even really happening, I don't know, because I'm not even going to try it.
I definitely agree with you that that's something that needs to be looked at as you get the.
There you go.
Okay, as you get these hackers and people that's out there, what they're actually doing is they're taking people's information and they're spoofing people daily. So for everybody out there, be careful. Be careful what you put out there as well.
Well, and keep in mind, for example, Snapchat. Snapchat has a location thing on it, which, yes, it's nice to see where your friends are, blah, 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 whatever. But if someone connects with you on Snapchat, they can find where you are at that exact moment easily, no questions asked. And that can be used against you or kids, people who have kids. Guess what? You have a minor, they could find out where they live and show up to your home. So you've got to be careful with that information because it's out there on the web for anyone to use. Not everybody has the good intent.
Right. No, absolutely.
So two things I wanted to close with you on this end is number one, AI could be used to help train new counselors and help psychologists learn more about which strategies are most effective. So there's the plus. But as they've come to state, right now there is no substitute for a human counselor. AI has a large data set. It's good with offering some useful information, but only a real therapist can get to know you and tailor their responses and their persistence to you, with you, and for you. So
One thing
I
we
thought
have to
this was really
sure,
interesting.
yeah, one thing we have to make sure for sure, the people that have their doctorates out there, those are the ones who have put in all the time and went through a number of experience over a number of decades. You can't take the things that they learned, their experiences, and so forth. It comes at a cost.
Yes.
People who have um, learned from one year to the next to be better, not for themselves, but better for other people, can't take that from them. You give it back to a computer, someone who owns a computer program, and that computer is out here relentlessly providing all that information. It's taking away from humanity.
Yep.
We have to keep that in mind. We still have a population that's still growing by leaps and bounds by the day. If you start taking away opportunities for those people to work and earn a fair living, and everybody ain't earning a fair living, just because we live in a capitalistic society, and if you take away that fair opportunity from people, we're going to increase crime tremendously. We're going to increase
Right.
homelessness tremendously, and those two things to be concerned about.
Absolutely, it is. That's one reason I wanted to go into this whole discussion today, especially with this being Mental Health Awareness Month, because so many people struggle with it daily. I don't care. Everybody struggles at some point in their life. You're not alone. Situation may not be the same, but somebody's gone through it. So, being that we have these devices, we do look for help on it. So, just be cautious with that help. It can be harmful, but it can be hurtful.
Yes.
That's the big reason why I wanted to bring that up today, because I stumbled into that yesterday. Thought it was a very interesting thought process and comments and conversation to have. You know, people out there, do your research, get that help. I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from the help, but just be cautious in the help that you seek and make sure that it is legitimate and proper for you.
Absolutely.
So, with that, we're up on 12 o'clock. Thoughts, ideas, closing?
Hashtag help humanity. Hashtag seek a person over a chatbot.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so for those interested in not just, you know, you yourself, but Matcha and everything that we're out there trying to do for people, where can they reach out and connect to you?
Follow me, Big Boy Sam with 2 M's on IG, Sammy Murphy on LinkedIn. Definitely thank you all for tuning in and checking out what we're providing from one week to the next. We're still trying to bring more awareness of what's going on in the industry from one state to the next. But overall, we're seeking to make change in one state at a time.
Absolutely. And everybody, you know, if any of this spoke to you today, send this to, you know, your friends. We've got this on our Matcha Foundation page, also on our Twitter, also on our YouTube channel. That YouTube channel can be accessed at any time. Copy that link, send it to them. Spread the word, help us out, get this out to individuals, get people to join us. And like I said, you got any comments, questions, concern, send them to us. If we don't know the answer, we'll look it up. We will do our best to provide you the proper, correct information here or individually, because I'm sure you're not the only one that has that question. Myself, reach out to me at DJNQ on Instagram, on Twitter. And guys, we look forward to seeing you next week. Stay safe, stay blessed to each other, and make it a goal to try to help one person today, even if that's just simply saying hello and hi. You never know what that might do for them.
I agree.
So with that, we'll see you guys all next week, and have a blessed week. And we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday, 1 week from today.
All right. Y'all have a good one.